Hey guys, it's Mr. V over here doing a book review today for The Bad Room by Jade Kelly. So, this is a nonfiction book about a young girl who deals with years of physical and mental abuse. And after those years, they're going to put her into a foster care for a foster mother. She thought it was going to get so much better, but sadly, she was very wrong. So, that's the main premise of the book. Before you could consider this book, I want to say this is not for the faint of heart, because this is a nonfiction book and this deals with child abuse, which is very difficult for many people to deal with. But if you think you can handle it, then I would say this is a very interesting read, because Jade Kelly, she goes through her childhood and she talks about the physical and mental abuse she had before foster care, because she was living with an incapable mother. She had a drug addicted stepfather. And she just gives a great explanation of her whole situation because there's a lot that happens in her childhood. And there's so many events that go through. And she even talks about how she talks to like these social services and things like that. Because at one point, Jay does not want to leave the house. So she shows you how she talks to them. And it's very interesting to see it through the eyes of a child. And as I said, she gives a great explanation of her situation. And while they're a very brief explanation, it's definitely enough because she never gets too far in depth. But it doesn't need to be because you really see how Jade is and her situation. So after those few years of living with her mother and you get to see how bad it is, they decide to put her into a foster care and a foster mother. And that's when the book gets really crazy. You'll be surprised that after that is when it gets crazy because you get to see how crazy this foster parent is because the person they give her to is a completely psychotic person. She has three foster kids, yet she is a complete psycho. And she basically treats them like prisoners. Like she keeps them locked up in the room and they cannot leave. They have to face the wall. They can't even talk to each other when they're in the room. They have weird sleeping arrangements. The food is bad. She doesn't even allow them to go to the bathroom without permission. She even says you can urinate on yourself. Like she is just a psycho. And there are so many more things. Like you have to read the book to know more, because there are so many more. And the weird part about this person is this foster parent seems to enjoy treating them badly. And that's why it was like the book gets super crazy at that point when you hear all these stories and what goes on, to where it even feels like a movie. It feels fictional. It is nonfiction, but it feels fictional because of how crazy it gets to see what it is. And it's also very sad when you're reading it because Jade explains her thoughts. She explains her thoughts where she basically feels trapped. She's only 10, 11, 12, and she thinks no one's going to believe her. So it's like, what does she do? And that's where Jade, in her book, she shows you, she writes about what she felt at the time and how difficult it was and like what to do. Um, so it was definitely interesting. It's a sad book. It's a sad hearing about her life because you see the difficulties of being a foster child. How a lot of kids in school, they think you're weird, they'll bully you, you don't really have a home, and you're confused about why adults act a certain way, and you feel emotion when you're reading it. But it's also a very eye-opening book because she shows the struggles that like abused kids face, but then she shows the extra struggles that like foster kids face. And then she even has an extra of like going to like just a psychotic foster mother. So you just get to see like everything. It's just like it shows. So it's just an eye-opening book, and I think it like is so eye-opening not only because of the situation, but because she did a great job on writing it. It's a very well-written book where she is great at explaining like the situation she is without ever going too far in depth. As this book is not too long a book. It's not too long, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's despite it not going super far in depth, you really know who Jade Kelly is and the situation she goes through because you get to know her thoughts, and it really helps knowing the situation more through her thoughts. And I think that's what makes the book super interesting, to where if you are interested to see like how these kids live their lives through child abuse and how they survive, then I'd recommend this book. If you feel you can't handle it, don't go into it because it is definitely a very emotional book. But if you guys have any comments or questions, please post it in the comment section below because I love to hear your comments. If you enjoyed the book review, hit the subscribe button as I always upload multiple different types of book reviews. But thank you for watching my book review today. This is Mr. V. Go enjoy reading.